They said the golden age of dogfighting was over. They said modern technology, satellites, and long-range missiles had made the old ways obsolete. They said that a jet built in the Cold War had no chance against the modern masters of the sky. But on a freezing morning over the Baltic Sea, a Swedish pilot proved them all wrong. He showed the world that a legend does not die just because it gets old. It just gets smarter. How does a fighter jet launched from a hidden road outsmart a machine designed to rule the air? How does one pilot use the mountains and the trees as his weapon? Welcome to Hidden Valor. Today, we tell the story of the ghost of the forest. The time was 6 a.m. The location was a deep forest in Sweden. To anyone driving by, it looked like a normal winter road. It was narrow. It was covered in frost. Pine trees stood tall on both sides, their branches heavy with snow. There were no airport lights. There were no control towers. There was just the silence of a winter morning. But if you looked closer, you would see something hiding. Beneath a camouflage net stretched between the trees sat a beast. It was a Saab 37 Viggen. It was a massive fighter jet, painted in a splinter pattern of dark greens and black. It looked sharp, aggressive, and dangerous. This machine was unique. Most fighter jets need long, smooth runways to take off. The Viggen was built to launch like a spear from a country road. It was built to fight from the forest. 2 ground crew members in heavy winter parkas crouched by the wheels of the jet. The air was so cold that their breath looked like steam rising into the air. They checked the hydraulic lines. They checked the tires. Everything had to be perfect. Inside the cockpit sat Captain Henrik Dahl. He was a veteran pilot. He had flown these skies for decades. He tightened his oxygen mask and narrowed his eyes at the frost crawling up the glass of his canopy. He was not here for a parade. He was not here for practice. Today was a live intercept. His radio crackled softly in his ear. The voice of the controller was calm. Radar confirms 2 fast movers inbound from the southeast. Speed is high. Altitude is 20,000 feet. Captain Dahl pressed the button on his radio. His voice was steady. Copy. Vector set. Scrambling now. The silence of the forest was broken. The engine of the Viggen began to spool up. It started as a low growl, like a sleeping animal waking up. Then it deepened into a rising shriek that shook the snow off the nearby trees. The ground crew pulled back the camouflage net. A truck parked nearby dimmed its lights. Captain Dahl pushed the throttle forward. Fire erupted from the back of the jet. The afterburner kicked in with a roar that felt like an explosion. The jet lurched forward. It did not roll smoothly like an airliner. It charged. The tires hammered against the patched asphalt of the road. The pine trees blurred into a wall of green and white. To a normal pilot, taking off from a road this narrow would be terrifying. There was no room for error. If he drifted a few inches to the left or right, he would hit a tree. But Dahl held the stick with a steady hand. In less than 10 seconds, the heavy jet lifted off the ground. The nose pointed up, and the Viggen clawed its way into the gray sky. It left behind nothing but a cloud of snow dust and the smell of jet fuel. The road was empty again. The ghost had launched. Miles away, high above the freezing Baltic Sea, 2 F-16 fighting Falcons were cruising. These were beautiful machines. They were painted in the dull gray colors of NATO. They were sleek, agile, and packed with the latest technology. The F-16 was known as the best dogfighter in the world. It could turn tighter and fly faster than almost anything else. Inside the cockpit of the lead jet, Falcon 1, sat an experienced American pilot. He scanned his digital instruments. Everything looked clear. Control, confirming no response from neutral air traffic. Proceeding with patrol route, Falcon 1 said. His wingman, Falcon 2, was a younger pilot. He was eager. He wanted some action. Roger, Falcon 1, the younger pilot said. Staying sharp. My radar is painting some low-level returns. Probably just ground clutter. Falcon 1 smiled behind his mask. Copy that. Europe's skies are busy. Just keep your eyes open. This is supposed to be a quiet morning. They were confident. Why wouldn't they be? They were flying the crown jewels of the Air Force. They were high up, looking down like hawks. They did not know that a predator was climbing up from below. They did not know that the ground clutter on their radar was actually a Swedish jet moving at the speed of sound. In a secret bunker deep underground, a Swedish air traffic controller watched her screen. She saw the 2 American jets circling high above, and she saw the single green dot of the Viggen slicing across the map. Eagle 1 is airborne, she said into her headset. Altitude low. Vector 240. Intercept profile active. Copy, Captain Da replied. He was flying dangerously low. The Viggen was just a few hundred feet above a frozen lake. His shadow darted over the white ice like a dark arrow. He was using a tactic called terrain masking. By flying low behind hills and in valleys, he kept the mountains between him and the enemy radar. To the F-16s above, he was invisible. The F-16s had better sensors. They had better computers. But Captain Da had the home field advantage. He knew every valley. He knew every cliff. He knew exactly where to hide. He pulled up gently. The nose of the Viggen broke through the morning mist. His radar swept the sky once, then twice. Bleep, bleep. 2 targets locked. Visual confirmation, the controller asked. Negative, Da murmured. But I have them on my scope. He rolled the jet level. He was closing the distance fast. Up above, Falcon 2 frowned. His radar screen flickered. Control, I have a ghost signal. Something low. It just appeared and disappeared. Probably a terrain echo, Falcon 1 replied. Maintain patrol. They were relaxed. They eased back in their seats. This place is empty, Falcon 2 said. It always is. But seconds later, a warning tone chirped in his headset. It was the radar warning receiver. It was a sound no pilot wants to hear. It meant someone was watching them. Lead. You getting that? Falcon 2 asked, his voice rising in pitch. Yeah, Falcon 1 said. His voice tightened. Somebody is painting us. Is it friendly? Negative. No traffic calls. Stay sharp. And then they saw it. In the misty distance below them, a dark shape flickered against the dawn light. The Viggen broke from its cover like a spear thrown from the earth. It was climbing straight up. Its afterburner glowed bright orange against the gray sky. Captain Da heard the steady tone in his headset. It was a solid lock. Eagle 1, merge in 20 seconds, his controller confirmed. Da did not answer. He gripped the stick. The fight was on. The F-16 pilots tightened their formation. Falcon 2, I have a spike low bearing. He is painting us. Visual. Visual. Falcon 2 barked. Contact low. The gray shape burst through the clouds. The Saab Viggen was huge compared to the F-16s. Its triangular wings looked aggressive. It roared through the gap between the 2 American jets. The sound of its engine shook their cockpits. Contact! Contact! Falcon 2 yelled. Adrenaline flooded his veins. Da flew right through them. He pitched his nose up. He caught a glimpse of the F-16s flashing past him. They banked hard to the left, sunlight glinting off their glass canopies. He is fast! Falcon 2 gasped. Braking left. Stay on me, Falcon 1 ordered. Dive and flank him. The Americans broke formation. They dove down, trying to get behind the Swedish jet. This was their game now. They expected the old Viggen to turn slowly. They expected an easy kill. But Da did not turn like a normal jet. He stayed low. He hugged the edge of a fjord, a deep valley with steep cliffs. He bled his speed intentionally. The F-16s were too fast. They overshot him. That is no MiG, Falcon 1 said with disbelief. That is a Viggen. I didn't know they had those airborne. They do now, Falcon 2 replied. The fight turned into a deadly dance. Captain Da weaved between the valley walls. The rock faces were so close he could see the details in the stone. He pulled back gently on the stick. The nose of the Viggen pitched up. He locked onto Falcon 2. Inside the F-16, a loud warning alarm filled the cockpit. Beep, beep, beep. He has got me. He has got me. Falcon 2 shouted. He pulled his jet into a hard brake turn. Captain Da smiled behind his oxygen mask. He did not press the fire button. He did not need to. This was a message. The American jet spun away, using its legendary agility to escape the lock. Vapor trails curled off its wings as it pulled 9 GS of force. Fox avoidance, Falcon 1 said calmly. Stay defensive. Let's flush him out. The Viggen climbed sharply. Da flipped a switch. A burst of chaff, small metal strips, exploded from the back of his jet. It looked like glitter in the morning light. The chaff confused the American radars. Da used the distraction to dive back down into the mist. He vanished. Where is he? Falcon 2 panted. His breathing was heavy from the high-gravity turn. I lost him. He went low, Falcon 1 said. Scanning. The radar sweep passed over the valley, but it saw nothing. Da was hiding in the noise of the ground. He was flying so low that the trees muffled his radar signature. Falcon 2, let's flush him, Falcon 1 said. I will spiral down. You stay high. They tried to trap him. Falcon 1 dove in a spiral, trying to scare the Viggen out of hiding. But Da was patient. He skimmed over frozen lakes. His hands moved with the precision of a surgeon. Suddenly, Da pitched up hard. He popped out of the mist right in front of Falcon 2's nose. The American pilot jerked his stick in surprise. He is on me! Falcon 2 barked. Da pushed full afterburner. The Viggen roared past the F-16. He rolled over the top and locked onto Falcon 1 this time. Inside the lead jet, the alarms wailed. Lead! He is painting you! I see him! Falcon 1 hissed. He dove away to break the lock. In the Swedish bunker, the operators cheered quietly. Eagle 1, holding lock, Da said calmly. Copy, the controller replied. This wasn't supposed to happen. The F-16 was the king of the sky. It was built to outturn and outclimb anything. But here was a pilot in a jet from the 1970s, controlling the entire fight. Falcon 1 was getting frustrated. Let's see how long he can keep this up. Reset formation. Try a split. The two F-16s broke apart. One climbed high into the clouds. The other stayed low. It was a classic trap. They wanted to force the Viggen to chase one, so the other could sneak up behind him. Da watched them on his scope. A hunter's smile tugged at his lips. Nice try, he murmured. He knew this tactic. He had trained against it for 20 years. He throttled back. He dropped even lower, plunging into a deep, misty fjord. The walls of rock rose around him like gray towers. The roar of his engine echoed off the cliffs. I have him in the weeds, Falcon 2 said. He is low and fast. Flush him out, Falcon 1 ordered. The F-16s dove. They thought they had him cornered. They scanned the valley floor. No visual, Falcon 2 said. He vanished again. Negative radar contact, Falcon 1 said. Where did he go? They did not see the Viggen rising behind them until it was too late. Da had looped over a ridge, using the mountain to hide his climb. Now, he was directly behind Falcon 2. His heads-up display glowed green. The missile tone sang in his ears. A continuous, solid tone. Inside the F-16, the cockpit screamed. He is on my 6. He is right behind me. Falcon 2 shouted. Panic was creeping into his voice. Brake right. Brake right. Falcon 1 yelled. Falcon 2 yanked the stick. Vapor exploded off his wings as he tried to shake the lock. But the Viggen stayed glued to him. Every move the American made, the Swede mirrored. Da held the lock for 3 long heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. That was a kill. In a real war, that pilot would be gone. Da rolled hard left and broke away before the F-16 could counter. Eagle 1, tally lock, Da reported. Copy, the controller said. Inside Falcon 2's cockpit, the pilot's breath was ragged. Lead, that was too close. Yeah, Falcon 1 muttered. He is playing with us. The fight continued for another 10 minutes. Every time the Americans tried to regroup, Da was there. He appeared from the clouds. He appeared from the valleys. He locked onto them again and again. He locked onto Falcon 1. Then he broke away. He locked onto Falcon 2. Then he broke away. He never fired. He never said a word to them on the open channel. He just dominated the airspace. Finally, Falcon 1 looked down at the fuel gauge. They were burning too much fuel chasing a ghost. Control, Falcon 1 said into his microphone. We have an aggressive contact down low. We are unable to secure the area. Copy, Falcon 1, the NATO controller said. Da leveled out. He flew parallel to the Americans for a moment. He was just a gray shape against the snow. He tipped his wing, a silent salute. Then, he dipped his nose and vanished into the trees for the last time. He is gone, Falcon 2 said. We are pulling back, Falcon 1 said. Return to base. There was a long pause before the younger pilot spoke again. That was humbling. Captain Henrik Da exhaled slowly. His body felt heavy. The G-forces had taken their toll. But the jet was humming smoothly. He adjusted his throttle. The coastline gave way to the forest again. Below him, he saw the headlights of the trucks moving into position on the road. "Road strip is clear," the voice on the radio said. "Roger," Da replied. He lined up with the narrow road. This was the hardest part. Landing a high-speed fighter jet on a strip of asphalt surrounded by trees required nerves of steel. He slowed down. The large canards, the small wings near the nose of the jet, fluttered as they helped slow the air. The Viggen touched down with a hiss of smoke. Da engaged the thrust reverser, a special feature of the Viggen that allowed it to stop on a dime. The engine roared, pushing air forward. The jet screeched to a halt in an incredibly short distance. Heat shimmered off the asphalt. The ground crews swarmed forward immediately. They guided him under the trees. Within seconds, the camouflage net was pulled over the jet. To anyone driving by 5 minutes later, the road was empty. There was no jet. There was no pilot. There was just the winter forest. Hours later, in a bright, warm NATO debriefing room, Falcon 1 and Falcon 2 sat at a table. They looked tired. They were still wearing their flight suits. Falcon 1 stared at the ceiling. "He never fired," he said softly. "He didn't need to." Falcon 2 shook his head. "That is what scared me. He could have smoked me 3 times over. I couldn't shake him." Their instructor, an older man with deep lines on his face, walked in. He listened to their story. He looked at the radar tapes. "You boys met a ghost," the instructor said with a faint smile. "That pilot knows the sky better than you know your own name. He used the land. He used your arrogance against you." "That jet is a museum piece," Falcon 1 argued. "It shouldn't be able to do that. Some planes age like fine wine," the instructor said. "And some pilots make them legends." Back in Sweden, the sun was setting. The forest was turning dark blue. Captain Da stood by his jet. He ran a gloved hand along the cold metal of the fuselage. Snow drifted down from the pine trees, dusting the wings. He didn't need a medal. He didn't need fame. He knew what he had done. Today, he had reminded the world that you don't judge a warrior by the age of his weapon. You judge him by his heart and his skill. The Viggen sat silent under the net. In that silence, there was power. In that invisibility, there was dominance. That is what makes these stories worth telling. Not just speed or firepower, but the hidden valor of those who protect the skies. If you enjoyed this story of the underdog ruling the skies, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We have many more untold tales of Cold War chess games and fighter legends waiting for you. This is Hidden Valor. See you in the next one.